This is not getting discussed on the mainstream media. Not only are they wrong legally, but the fact that they would do this is outrageous. This is an overreaction and really nonsense. How would you react if this was your son or your daughter? It's the offense of knowing the truth. It's the offense of having an alternate worldview. Saying God bless you to someone is not a violation of the law.
Well, we just went on this live yesterday, and already a lot of attention being paid to the plight of Coptic Christians in Egypt. Welcome our television audience to the broadcast. For those of you listening on radio, there'll be some video up on this afternoon. But let me tell you what, I'm holding my hand, a report that was just issued yesterday, late in the day, by Amnesty International regarding the plight of Coptic Christians in Egypt. They say it is a shocking dereliction of duty that security forces failed to prevent these sectarian attacks and protect Coptic Christians. They also said that the violence being condemned is not enough. The tragic attacks were no surprise given the inflammatory and sectarian language used by some Morsi supporters, scapegoating Christians for the crackdown they suffered. So Amnesty International recognizing the plight of Coptic Christians. This is a very serious situation, folks, that we are engaged in at the highest levels with our global affiliates around the world, but also, of course, in Washington, D.C. Jordan, what is the latest that you have in Washington? There are conflicting reports coming out today about aid. We're saying the aid should be based on a guarantee that the minority, the religious minorities, Coptic Christians, will be protected. What's the latest?
Well, I'd say one thing that is not controversial and is not divided on is that the Obama administration looks very bad on this. Their policy, not just that they're weak, but also misguided. The idea that you've now got the Secretary of Defense, Chuck Hagel, who's come out and said, well, we have very limited influence in Egypt. Now, we send billions of dollars a year there. We brokered the peace deal between Egypt and Israel that has remained for decades. And we have funded that military. We have provided it the weapons. We have provided it the trucks. I mean, from the trucks to the tanks to the jets to the bullets. Thank the United States of America if you're the Egyptian military. Yep. And yet now we have an administration saying that we have limited influence. This is the Obama doctrine at work.
You know, they talk about David French, senior counsel for the ACLJ, also a major in the United States Army. David, they're talking about, we've only got about 10 seconds here before the break, they're talking about weapons being utilized. The fact is we were giving those weapons to the Morsi government, which were the Muslim Brotherhood. So what's the great shock here, that some of the terrorists got them and used them in the Sinai?
It's amazing. I mean, let's be absolutely clear here. The Obama administration backed the Muslim Brotherhood. It is the Muslim Brotherhood burning churches.
I hope you heard what David just said. Folks, the decision and the mistake here was backing the Muslim Brotherhood-led government of Morsi. That's what this is all about. That's what the Arab Spring ended up becoming. Folks, we've got an urgent petition. It's very simple. Defend Egypt's Christians. This is a long-standing, one of the oldest Christian communities in the world, and they are being slaughtered. Churches being burned, Al-Qaeda flags being raised over churches. If you want to stop it, add your name to this petition at aclj.org. That's aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. Again, 877-989-2255 or aclj.org. Take action right now.
As the violence and chaos escalate in Egypt, there's one thing that has become crystal clear. Radical Islamists have stepped up their campaign to target Christians, and the Muslim Brotherhood, an anti-American, anti-Israel terrorist group, will stop at nothing to regain control in Egypt. It is time for the Obama administration to take sides, stand for religious freedom and against the Muslim Brotherhood. It's time for the Obama administration to put conditions on U.S. aid to Egypt. Christians must be protected, and our jihadist enemy, the Muslim Brotherhood, must be opposed and defeated. Stand now with the American Center for Law and Justice. Add your name to our petition demanding the Obama administration defend Christians and defeat the Muslim Brotherhood. Call now 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255 or add your name online, aclj.org.
Hey, welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. 28,590 of you have signed a petition. It's very straightforward. It said it's time to take sides in this. Egypt's Christian community is under assault by jihadist radicals. Churches are burning, including ancient cathedrals. Nuns are being captured and paraded through the streets. Christian homes and businesses are attacked, and Christian children are dying. The jihadist Muslim Brotherhood, furious that it has lost power, is taking out its rage and revenge, basically, on Egyptian Christians. It's a past time for a clear message from the United States. And we're getting muddled messages even today, folks. But this is the very simple part of this. We cannot give unconditional aid to Egypt until they make a guarantee that they are going to defend and protect these Christians whose churches are being burned, crosses being covered with an Al-Qaeda flag up. Now, if you don't want to see that happen with your taxpayer dollars, and you want it makes you really upset, which it does me, as you can tell in my voice, that we've got crosses in ancient cathedrals being covered with flags from Al-Qaeda. If you want that stopped and you want the United States to take the appropriate action, which is just not to give money without guarantees, then you join this petition right now. It's an easy way to do it is aclj.org. It's aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. That's aclj.org or 877-989-2255. It is that straightforward. It is that simple. And we need your help on this, folks. This cannot be done just with us. We need thousands of people to engage. We've got a lot of people calling in the phones right now. And before we do that, David, quickly, we talked about this during the break. We are sending out a muddled message in the United States right now.
Oh, well, nobody really knows what the administration's message is. I mean, it was a very clear until about 2 or 3 weeks ago that they are 100% A-OK with the Muslim Brotherhood.
Right.
Now, is it a coup? We don't know if it's a coup. Are we for the military government? We don't know. In the meantime, churches burn.
Christians are dying. Churches are being burnt. And I'm asking, what are we going to do about it? We're going to get messages to the UN. We're going to get messages to the White House. And Jordan, you said earlier we have a partial victory of sorts right now because it looks like what we've been saying, freeze this thing, freeze the money until we figure out what's going on there.
That's right. I think that we have a situation where you've got the United States, at least they're not saying that they've suspended aid, which is what Senator Patrick Leahy, U.S. Senator, had said. And his office had said that it appeared to be that the aid had been suspended. But in fact, what we now know is that at least they have this whole determination language has really been, if we take the senator and take him at his word and his office at their word, then this whole discussion about should we call it a coup or not has been cover for suspending the aid temporarily at least. And that's all anyone has been calling for. Not we're never going to aid Egypt again. The idea was show them that we're going to cut it off now. I wish they would do it publicly. I think that would send a message to the world and people who rely on U.S. dollars to fund their troops or feed their troops or arm their troops or give them any kind of vehicles. But at the same time, if the administration has done this, at least for these next 30 days or the next couple of months, I think that this is a victory for everyone who's spoken out. People like Senator Rand Paul speaking out and saying, cut this aid off until they show us that they can do the right thing.
All right, let's play. This is from the State Department briefing yesterday. We'll try to make some sense of this. I think Jordan's analysis is correct. I think he probably has a better analysis than the State Department, but let's go ahead and play what the State Department said.
But you've made your decision that you don't plan to make a determination, correct? And that has not changed.
That has not changed.
And are you reviewing that decision?
I believe we've made a decision. Obviously, anything we can review. When we announced we weren't making a determination, we talked about our broad national security interests. It's always been about the Egyptian people determining their path forward, and not making a determination was in part because we did not want to send a signal that we were taking sides.
Yeah, the problem is they took sides, and they took the side of the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, who are we kidding here? The administration took the side of the Muslim Brotherhood. We are now reaping the consequences of this. And I think we've got to be, the reality check here, folks, is we've taken the wrong side. Now we've got the military in control, which I think is a better move. But until there's a guarantee that we've got protection of Christian minorities, we should not be funding anything. Jordan, let's go to the phones. I see we've got some folks that are Coptic Christians calling. Let's go and take some of those calls.
Yep, Nancy's calling in from California on line 3. Nancy, welcome to Sekulow Live.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, good morning. Hi.
Hi, you're on the air.
I wanted to let you know that I'm so happy to hear you talking about the truth. All the media is saying that the army is the one that's creating violence in Egypt. You have no idea. 28 churches have been burned in the last month. You have no idea what Christians are going through. Over and over through the years, there's been a lot of suffering for Christians because they're already minority, because they're never heard, because they don't go out and protest, and they don't go and kill people back.
Well, Nancy, one of the things I hope you've heard through this broadcast is that we are, in fact, taking proactive stance here, and we know that the military is not responsible for the destruction of the Christian churches. In fact, a very liberal group, Amnesty International, has said they are condemning the violence is not enough. They write that the tragic attacks were no surprise, given the inflammatory and sectarian language used by some Morsi supporters, scapegoating Christians for the crackdown they suffered. They suffered a crackdown when they tried to suspend the Constitution of Egypt. Nancy, let me ask you this. Do you still have family back in Egypt?
I do. Everybody's there.
What are they saying?
Families here. They're hiding in their homes. They can't even go out. They can't step outside. A taxi driver, just because he was hanging a cross, they dragged him out of the car and slaughtered him in the middle of the street. This is real life.
Now, this is what's happening. Jordan, I know you've worked closely with the Coptic community leadership in the United States. We spoke at a conference. You and I participated in a conference with Coptic leaders from around the world just a few weeks back in Washington. The story from Nancy, unfortunately, is not unusual. There are actually pictures of the attack on the taxi driver, and Will Haynes has just told me, our producer here, that it's horrific. We're not going to put those up on our website, obviously. They're that bad. But it's out there, and I'm glad Nancy called in. But, Jordan, this is a real problem, and it's really serious, and we know who the culprits are.
Yeah, it's out there. I mean, the images are there, and the pictures are there, and the body is there, the taxi cab there, the dragging out of the body. All of this captured. Now, this can be either, you could say, well, this is because law has broken down and the streets are being run by thugs from the Muslim Brotherhood. You could also say that the Egyptian military is maybe, it's one of the larger militaries in the world and is not doing a good enough job protecting a group that we know is being targeted. And is it because they are Muslims and they are not willing to put their bodies in the way of a Muslim Brotherhood attack on a church, that's not going to be a priority for them? And I would say, if I was the administration, if that's not going to be a priority for you, then kiss our money goodbye and our support. And if you want to try to break peace agreements and things like that, see how the world reacts.
Jordan made a good point there. I want to point out, David, also, and get your comments on this. Egypt's military has now arrested one of the leading Islamic clerics from the Muslim Brotherhood. He, by the way, was responsible with Mohammed Morsi conspiring with, guess who, folks? Hamas. Hamas, of course, and the Muslim Brotherhood calling for the destruction of Israel. So none of this is really shocking. It's just outrageous that it's happening.
It's absolutely outrageous. And if the administration tries to say we don't have leverage here, that is absolutely crazy. I mean, let's go through some of the numbers we went through yesterday. 2,600 American-made tanks in the Egyptian army, 240 American-made fighter jets in the Egyptian army, 450,000 troops equipped with American weapons and American equipment. You don't think we have leverage if we said no more spare parts, no more technical help, unless you protect Christians, unless you do something to demonstrate you respect individual liberty? You want to see how quickly things would change, but we don't even have the will to do that.
Yeah. Let me tell you something else, folks. I'm just reading an AP report here, and an area that I'm very concerned about, this I mentioned on the broadcast yesterday, is the Sinai, also bordering down to the, and this is, when you get to Sinai, you're talking about Gaza, you're talking about Israel, you're talking about the Suez Canal. And if the Suez Canal is some way implicated by this, and you've got insurgents, they're actually saying, according to AP, that daylight attacks raise fears that the strategic desert region bordering Israel and the Gaza Strip could be plunged into a full-fledged insurgency. You close the Suez Canal, you could have economic chaos throughout the world. We need to take action both for our own interests and for the Christians in Egypt. Folks, they're burning churches. Al-Qaeda flags are being raised over crosses, and we're sitting there trying to figure out what our policy is. It's really simple. We will give you aid if you protect the minority religious groups. That includes the Christians. You don't protect the Christians, we're done. That simple. If you agree with us, aclj.org. That's aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. Can't blame this on the military, but we've got to have assurances here, folks. aclj.org. That's aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. If you're concerned about churches, Christians, your brothers and sisters, if you're concerned about an Al-Qaeda flag being hoisted over a cross, You go to aclj.org, add your name to that petition right now, or you call us at 1-877-989-2255. That's aclj.org or 877-989-2255. Back with more in just a moment.
As the violence and chaos escalate in Egypt, there's one thing that has become crystal clear. Radical Islamists have stepped up their campaign to target Christians, and the Muslim Brotherhood, an anti-American, anti-Israel terrorist group, will stop at nothing to regain control in Egypt. It is time for the Obama administration to take sides, stand for religious freedom and against the Muslim Brotherhood. It's time for the Obama administration to put conditions on U.S. aid to Egypt. Christians must be protected, and our jihadist enemy, the Muslim Brotherhood, must be opposed and defeated. Stand now with the American Center for Law and Justice. Add your name to our petition demanding the Obama administration defend Christians and defeat the Muslim Brotherhood. Call now 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or add your name online, aclj.org.
Welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. I want to give you an update on the situation with Pastor Saeed Abedini. Over 600,000 of you have contacted us. Tens of thousands of you are writing letters. There's a new president in Iran, and we've got a brand new initiative here at the ACLJ for his defense.
Saeed is an amazing husband, an amazing father. Some mornings the kids run around the house and go outside and search in the yard, and I ask them, "What are you doing?" And they say, Mommy, Daddy was home. And I look at them and they say, "Mommy, was that real? Or was it just a dream?" And I have to hold myself together to look at them and say, it was just a dream.
On July 28, 2012, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard detained American pastor Saeed Abedini while he was visiting Iran to build orphanages. A lot's happened in the last year. In early January, Saeed was brought before a hanging judge who the UN has condemned for his human rights abuses and was sentenced to 8 years in one of Iran's harshest prisons. From the start, Saeed faced torture, solitary confinement, and was refused medical treatment for his wounds simply because of his faith. On a rare visit with his parents, he told them he felt like he had been forgotten. But the fight for Saeed's freedom was well underway. Last December, SaveSaeed.org launched with a petition to bring Saeed's story to the attention of lawmakers in the U.S. and abroad. Initially, we looked for 300,000 voices to join with us to not let Saeed's story be lost. On February 24th, the goal of 300,000 signatures had been reached, #SaveSaeed had trended on Twitter, and major news outlets had picked up on the story because of you. The Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission heard your voice, and on March 15th, over 500,000 of you stood with Saeed as his wife testified in front of a congressional hearing. The increased pressure from the congressional hearing finally resulted in a statement from the Secretary of State, John Kerry, who called for Saeed's immediate release. We talked with others who had escaped Devon prison, and they told us how crucial it was to keep pressure on the Iranian government, as well as how receiving letters from the outside brought them hope. So we began a campaign to send letters to Saeed for his birthday, and over 50,000 of you responded, sending letters of hope landing directly on the prison's doorstep. On June 4th, Saeed's wife spoke in front of the UN Human Rights Council in a plea for her husband, herself, and her children. So much progress has been made, but we can't rest until Saeed is free. A new Iranian president has been elected, one claiming to be more moderate than Ahmadinejad. Let's give him the opportunity to show just how moderate he is. Let's bring Saeed to his attention by continuing to share his story and by signing the petition. So much has changed in here, but what hasn't changed is the absence of a husband and a father. Please help us continue to keep Saeed's story alive by sharing this video, signing the petition, and telling your friends. We're doing everything we can, but we need your help to keep hope alive. Thank you.
We've got an entire region in chaos, and that is in Egypt. It's now affecting the Gaza Strip. That means it borders Israel and the Suez Canal. This is extremely serious, and churches are being burned, Christians are being killed, and Al-Qaeda flags hoisted over crosses. I'm concerned about it enough that we've mobilized our teams around the globe, and we're bringing you this special broadcast. If you want to join with us in this fight, by the way, we encourage you to do it. Literally, thousands of you responded yesterday. We sent this email out, and basically within 24 to 36 hours, we are over 28,000, almost 29,000 signatures with phone calls, over 30,000 signatures on this petition. It is very straightforward. It says you're going to control aid, and you're going to have it with a guarantee, an assurance that Coptic Christians, Christians generally, religious minorities as well, will be protected from this ongoing assault by the jihadists and the Muslim Brotherhood. To do that, you can sign your name to the petition at aclj.org. That's a really easy way to do it. aclj.org. You can call us at 1-877-989-2255. That's aclj.org or 877-989-2255. The administration is sending out, Jordan, mixed signals here, and that's creating part of this problem.
Sure. I mean, this is what's so difficult, I think, for the American people if you're watching or for Egyptians on either side. If you're the Muslim Brotherhood, some days you think that the administration is supporting you. Other days you think the administration is undermining you behind the scenes. If you are the Egyptian military, you're a human rights abuser one day. On the next day, everyone is defending why we have to keep sending you money without any kind of preconditions whatsoever. You've got a deep divide within all people in Washington. There's not Republican versus Democrat. Right. I was just reading a piece by Thomas Sowell who's saying we should be funding Egypt and that we have to look, we can't come up with a better solution. I don't agree with that, and I think that that's looking at it way too economically when you talk about human blood on the streets. And at the same time, I think we could solve this much more quickly. I don't believe it with Chuck Hagel, this whole idea that we have limited influence. I think we could tell the Egyptian military very clearly, you start protecting those churches in the Christian neighborhoods, and those are easy to find. In fact, right. The Muslim Brotherhood has marked them for you with red ink. They did that through some of the cities. If you do that, we'll send you the money. Show us that you'll do that. We're going to monitor it. We've got people there. We could monitor that. And then we would see that this was a military that was the military that people thought they could be, a truly much more secular military in the sense that they were not rife with Muslim Brotherhood members, which many people were worried about. But they still have not put their bodies in between the Muslim Brotherhood and the church destruction.
You mentioned Chuck Hagel. This was from a press briefing yesterday. It brings up exactly what Jordan just said, and this was there's very limited what we can do, except we're giving them about $1.5 billion. Take a listen, number 22.
Answer the calls from Capitol Hill in particular now. Just pull all the aid out if they're not cooperating or don't appear to be cooperating at any level.
We have serious interests in Egypt and that part of the world. This is a very complicated problem. Our ability to influence the outcome in Egypt is limited. It's up to the Egyptian people.
It's a complicated problem. You're the Secretary of Defense. You get to handle complicated problems. We have a limited role. Really? $1.3 billion in aid? David, doesn't seem so limited to me.
It's 25% of their defense budget.
25% not so limited.
Of their defense budget. All of their major equipment, I'll say that again, all of their major equipment is American-made and manufactured. We have huge leverage. You know what? This is a game that we have seen throughout the Middle East. Our quote-unquote allies will say, give us money, give us weapons, or you don't know how bad it could be. You don't know how bad it could be. And we just give them weapons. And in the meantime, the Christian community diminishes across the Middle East. 1 million Christians out of Iraq. And now we've got the possibility of religious cleansing in Egypt, the largest Christian community in the Middle East. And still the call is, give us weapons, give us weapons.
According to Fox News, this is recently, at least 60 churches have been targeted along with Christian schools, homes, businesses, and even an orphanage. In the areas, there's particular areas, as Jordan mentioned, where Islamists have come in and have marked homes, Christians' homes and businesses, marked them in red or put X's over them to single them out for attack. And what are we doing? We're saying it's a complicated problem? Give me a break. Here's a complicated problem. A complicated problem is when the government, our government, including Republicans and Democrats, can't figure out what the policy is supposed to be. Well, figure it out. We'll give you aid, protect the Christians. It's that simple. You're the government that's in charge. Act like it. ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. Look, I'm glad the military's there and Morsi's out. I'm glad the Muslim Brotherhood's out, but they're acting, as Amnesty International said, they're acting in revenge. And who do they take the revenge on? The minority. Who's the minority? The Christians. We've got to fight back. We could do that both here in the United States and around the globe with our affiliates, but that's where you come in, folks. ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. That's aclj.org or 877-989-2255. Let's take another call. Jordan, who's next?
Yeah, Sherry in Texas on line 4. Sherry, welcome to J. Sekulow Live. You're on the air.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi, good morning, guys. I really appreciate your support of the Copts in Egypt, and I truly agree with everything you're saying, and because I'm not hearing any of this on, your regular American media, so I'm truly appreciative. But one thing I would like to add or just say is
Sure.
actually right now the Egyptian army is the sole fighter against the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yes.
And they are truly terrorists. They've been growing and increasing in force against Christians and against the entire country for the past 80 years. They have been growing in force. And actually, Nancy was saying that, I think she said there were like about 25 churches. Actually, I think the number is around 70 or more.
Yeah, Fox News is reporting that it's 60, Sherry. Now, are you from the Coptic community?
I am Coptic Egyptian. I listen to the Egyptian media against the Muslim Brotherhood. I'm totally in tune to that.
What was the reaction of your community? Because I think this is the fundamental problem with all of this, is that the United States backed Morsi's government, the Muslim Brotherhood-led government. I think that was a huge mistake from the beginning. What's your sense?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the Copts in Egypt, they did not have any appraisal against, what's going on about the burning, because they know it's not the country's fault. It's not the army's fault. This is a Muslim Brotherhood issue. So they wanted the army to intervene and take care of that problem.
A lot of Coptic groups, by the way, so Sherry, have been taking our petition, translating it, putting it up on websites. Let me encourage you to do that as well. We want to get to, I think it's conceivable that we get to well over 50,000, maybe 100,000 signatures on this as this unfolds, but it's going to take everybody's help. We appreciate you calling. Folks, we need you to take some direct action here. As David said, 28,000 of you, almost 30,000 now in a day, have contacted us on this issue. We're in our second day of this campaign. I want to get to 100,000 signatures. That's where you come in. We've mobilized our offices literally around the globe, including Jerusalem, but I need your help. They need your help. The Christians need your help, and they don't want Al-Qaeda flags flying over their churches. Go to aclj.org. Sign that petition, aclj.org, or 1-877-989-2255. Pray for the leaders of Congress, both the House and the Senate, Republicans and Democrats. These are big decisions and lots at stake. And pray for us here at the ACLJ. We'll talk to you next week.
As the violence and chaos escalate in Egypt, there's one thing that has become crystal clear. Radical Islamists have stepped up their campaign to target Christians, and the Muslim Brotherhood, an anti-American, anti-Israel terrorist group, will stop at nothing to regain control in Egypt. It is time for the Obama administration to take sides, stand for religious freedom and against the Muslim Brotherhood. It's time for the Obama administration to put conditions on U.S. aid to Egypt. Christians must be protected, and our jihadist enemy, the Muslim Brotherhood, must be opposed and defeated. Stand now with the American Center for Law and Justice. Add your name to our petition demanding the Obama administration defend Christians and defeat the Muslim Brotherhood. Call now 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or add your name online, aclj.org.